How's everybody doing today? Fantastic to be back up here, and for us, obviously you know, some of you know that our family grew up here. My parents were married in Lourdes Church over there, and I remember as a little kid going to the Puritan, get the ice cream, you know, there. I'd go by it here now, it's all part of the school system there, but with the Mass at St. Joseph's, and it's just a great to be back up here and remember all the fond memories that we had coming up here during holidays and family get-togethers, and you know, wrestling was a part of it. I remember, you know, very vividly as a kid picking up the Waterloo Courier, you know, back in 1970 to see what the results were and everything, and our parents and my uncles were out there at the tournament back then, so. It kind of had a unique perspective, and being back here, one of the cradles of wrestling in the state of Ohio was pretty special. You know, I see Bill Rose out there, and you know, it's one of you, and Kyle Klingman can attest to this. Okay, I go to my first Big Ten championships, probably 25 years ago. I was always curious. I was out of wrestling at that point in time. I was always curious about the Big Ten tournament. It was starting to get tougher and tougher, you know, and I had to go. And so I show up, and this was, you know, post my wrestling career, and somebody from Cresco, right? And at that time, Bill Rose was living in New Hampton, and he had a hard time with the '87 match that we had between Krieger and Heffernan, where my guy wins and their guy didn't, and right, and there was well, I could have been, I don't know. I was saying, you know, you guys got some calls back in the day too. But the bottom line is what I'm here to say is that Rose is living in New Hampton, and one of you from Cresco, who I'm sure is here, pulled that up, all right, and had an amateur wrestling news. Or Kyle, where are you at? Kyle. Did you have the amateur wrestling news?
Probably.
Anyway, the Cresco man blamed Bill Rose for that call and held a grudge for 20-some years. And I said, it's Gerald Henry from Utah, and Gable was in you remember that? Gable? That's a funny look. So Gable had I said, go ask Gable. He knows who refereed that match. And I took you off the hook because somebody that was one county away was blaming you for the call of that match. Right? So you owe me one. Right? So I love Bill, but I want to congratulate all the nominees. And I will tell you this from being having our family have the same honor that these gentlemen are going to experience here in a little bit. It's truly an honor. We take a look at the names that are on that inside left panel there. It's pretty significant. To be associated with those names is pretty significant, and you know what wrestling means to this state, and it's certainly what it means to this community. It's neat to be a part of it. So I have the honor of talking about Steve Hamilton. And when I see you, Pete, all right, Steve's uncle, it reminds me of Bill and Rita Hamilton. Now, they owned a bar in Emmitsburg, okay? I never got to it, but, you know. So I heard the stories about Steve growing up there as a young guy, sometimes having to clean it out a little bit, and having to haul kegs up the steps, all right? And, you know, it's just like Two Checks is just like all the other local bars here throughout the years. But, you know, Bill and Rita were some of the most fantastic parents that I ever had the opportunity to, you know, coach their son. And didn't make any difference what the level of competition was. Same great spirit, great look, you know. And you know, you know, Steve, I would say, you know, he grew up tough, you know, in a tough environment. He wouldn't take, you know, sometimes that led to things. He probably saw a few things a little bit early in life, but that was okay, you know. And he brought that type of enthusiasm, energy, the social skills. We brought that as well, all right? And but fantastic people. And you talk about social skills. One coaching story that I always told, I never usually mention the name, but I'll mention it this time, okay? His redshirt freshman year, he shows up, and he had been in the Johnson County Jail. Iowa State football weekend. You know, sometimes your freshmen get in trouble, Brent. You got to be a little forgiving of them every now and then, right? You got to work through it, all right? We've all been through it. So, but he gives me the best response he could have ever gotten. I could have ever gotten at that moment. And I said, what happened? He says, Coach, it was a conspiracy. What are you talking about? Iowa State football weekend, they take us down there. They were just looking for us. We go down to the cell. It was nothing but a sea of cardinal and gold. Right? But anyway, I love coaching this guy because he was tough. He was mentally tough. He was competitive almost from the first time that we got him. He showed up in the wrestling room and took on all comers, got the crap beat out of him, but kept on working and working and working, and he really developed himself into being a fine wrestler, finishing third in the World Team Trials, four-time All-American, NCAA runner-up, this close, holding a lead late in the tournament, late in the match, and something that never thought would happen, but he was a joy to coach for me. He was a joy to be around. He worked very hard. He was an excellent teammate, and doing the things that above and beyond to help guys, that came from maybe a little bit softer backgrounds to be tough. And three-time captain, right, in our program, right. So you take a look at that type of leadership skills. I had the opportunity to be around him as well later on in life when I asked him to come to Perry, right, be part of a start a program up there. They hadn't had a state champion in 40 years there, and did a great job coaching there. And he had several state place winners, and had the first two-time state champion ever in that school district. Immediately goes down to Georgia this past year, a couple years ago, had another couple state champions. So this guy that really leaves a great mark with young people. And I'm so proud to introduce Steve Hamilton, your 126th inductee into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Okay, where do I start? Great honor. When he called me, I don't know, last fall and told me about it, I was just kind of whatever, But it was a pretty, pretty big deal to be able to get inducted into this type of thing. But it was one of those things. A few months back, I'm down in Georgia now. I'm working with youth kids. Not really working with high school kids a whole lot anymore. And I'm trying to get my boy kind of involved in wrestling. And they're struggling down there. They don't really know. They don't have any. What's the word I'm looking for? They don't really have anything no background. All right, they don't have any history. So I called Jay Robinson. He's a guy that through the years I've always off and on. I call him back, just to talk to him. I worked one summer with him at his camps and kind of developed a friendship with him. But I called him. I said, hey, what do you do here? I kind of laid out the whole situation, and he said something that was really, really stuck with me. He said, you gotta find heroes for those kids. All right, you gotta find people that they can look up to. And the thing that stuck out was just the fact that, those kids they didn't really have that opportunity. They're not getting that opportunity like I did. I look at kind of my life and my wrestling career, and I was blessed in that where I grew up. The fact that I think I was probably 10 years old, 9 years old. First time I went to a big tournament, state tournament, I went and watched Jeff Kerber win his fourth state title. All right, and it was, I don't know if you guys were there, but I know some of you guys were. Yeah, Felix, I know you were there. We were like, but anyway, but it was just a neat thing because, I was 9 years old and seeing that happen, I got to see that, this is somebody from my town that did this, so I always thought that this was something that it was something that I could do myself. So, I always had all these people growing up that I could look up to, and and Jay was right. You got to have people that you can look up to. All right, that you can, that's something that Iowa. I don't think you guys, after living here my whole life and then moving away, that's something that you really take for granted. But you know, it's a really a special place as far as the wrestling community here. I mean, it really is. You know, the fact that you can go and watch Iowa Public Television, and you can go watch, 8 or 9 dual meets during the year. Something for a 10-year-old kid to be able to see that and witness that and be able to watch it, that leaves a major imprint for anybody. And all you guys probably, can relate to that. For me, that was huge. Having the fact that Kerber did that, was pretty big because he was from my hometown and all. And the Kerber family, I mean, they were great to me and to anybody that was involved in wrestling there. I mean, John was, he's an interesting dude. He really was. But he was a great guy to me. I mean, if I ever needed, if I wanted to go to a tournament and I needed money, I'd go to the, he had the biggest business in town. I go, hey, can I work for a little while? And he'd give me some silly job doing something just so I could make some money, so I could go on and do a tournament or whatever. And so, I was surrounded by people who really encouraged me all the way through. It wasn't something where, I was out on my own, doing my own thing. I always had a lot of people encouraging me and pushing me, and, I think they realized that, one of those things that, they saw something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself, that, that they said, hey, this kid can do something, and I was always surrounded by people that were positive and helping me out, and but a lot of other things, I try to look back at kind of things that kind of shaped me and helped me, and I don't know if you guys recall this. Some of you guys are a little young, but I think it was 1982. Emmitsburg was wrestling. It was the state championship. We went down to the heavyweight. Our guy had to pin the Eagle Grove guy to win the state title. He did it with like 30 seconds left, and there's nothing better than beating Eagle Grove people. Feels good. Better for most people, whatever. But that was a big deal. I mean, that was my hometown. So for me, just being surrounded by it was really important. It really helped me out a lot. My family. I mean, a lot of people don't know much about my family other than kind of what Jim said. But my mom grew up, or most of her adult life, she had rheumatoid arthritis. So it was one of those things where a lot of people, you kind of, in wrestling, it's kind of like gaining that work ethic and thing, and stuff like that. I don't think it's innate. I don't think a lot of people just naturally go out and are just hard workers. I think it's a learned behavior, and for me, having somebody in my, like my mom that dealt with that on a daily basis, that it was just a life struggle, every day. And so the fact that she did that and I got to see that and experience it and live through it, that was a big deal for me. I was able to, see somebody that was really a hard-nosed, tough person from a very early age. And, a lot of people have to go, with wrestling, you got to get into a tough room. I had it right at home. I got to see it firsthand, day in, day out. And so, for me, the wrestling was easy. I didn't have that seeing that going on every day, the wrestling part was easy. And I just, for me, I wanted to do well simply for the fact that made her happy, So, that pushed me as an athlete, probably more than anything, okay? But, also my brother, he helped me out a lot. I mean, he never gave me an easy pass. I remember one time, I think I was 5th or 6th grade, and I think I got 3rd in state in freestyle. I came home, wasn't real happy about it. I got beat by a guy that probably shouldn't have got beat by. And, I go home, Dad's cool, but I don't care. My dad didn't care about that. He could probably be the best wrestling dad here because he didn't know anything about wrestling. He said he didn't know anything about wrestling, And the thing was, like, he just liked the fact that I was out there doing it. He didn't care what happened, all right? And so, he was a great dad in that regard. But, I remember I got third state, and I came back, and I told Dad, and Dad's like, yeah, all right, good for you. And I remember my other brother was there, and he's like, good job. And I told Pat, and he's like, what's wrong with you? He just ragged on me, And it was like, I felt terrible, And so the next tournament was the Northern Plains, and I went in there and I smashed people, It was just mostly because, he held me to a higher expectation. He said, that's not good enough. Third place in state's not good. You should do better. You're better, And so it was just that constant pushing, that really, made a big impact on me. And I remember my junior year, he was in college, freshman year. I was a junior in high school. He'd come back, we'd work out. We were in the middle of we threw the mat out in the middle of the gym. And it was during freestyle and Greco season, and he wasn't much of a freestyler, or wasn't much of a Greco guy, and we were wrestling a Greco match. And I remember the first time I ever beat him. And I remember I get done, I go, I win! 8-6, and I didn't get the 6 out, and he punched me in the mouth. 45 minutes, I don't know how long it was, but there was like 3 or 4 guys there, and they wouldn't break it up, and I wasn't gonna back down. It was like I was like Mayweather. I was like running around, I get like a punch, then I hit some more, then he'd be chasing me all over the gym, But it was one of those things that, that was just how life was for me. It was like, it was a brawl, from the word go. He's a couple years older than me, and that's kind of the neat thing about it. You got the younger brother, usually does a little bit better than the older brother, unfortunately. But anyway, but yeah, that was pretty big. My high school coach, Clint Young, he was a UNI guy. The thing he taught me probably more than anything else is how to train. He's one of those guys that at like 35, he was out running like 5 and 6 miles in the morning and lifting weights and doing all that stuff. And I'm just like, I didn't like any of that stuff. I don't like running, I don't like lifting, but I knew that I had to do it to get better, So you could put me in a wrestling, I'd wrestle till the cows come home. But I didn't like it. I wasn't the fastest guy, I wasn't the strongest guy. But what he taught me was just, the training aspect of it. I remember like my freshman year, I ran with him. I'd run like 2 or 3 miles, and I remember we ran out there and we're like at mile 5, and I'm like, when are we gonna be done here? I'm like, run 6, 7 miles, and that was just kind of his thing. But he was an awesome coach for me. He just taught me how to train. It was really more than anything else, and he was always real positive with me no matter what, what was going on. But anyway, then high school, I remember, I was starting to think about colleges. I started to get recruited. I was getting recruited some by, UNI, Iowa State, by Iowa. And I remember my junior year, I got beat in the finals, and I was like, that was kind of a crushing defeat for me. I thought that was the end of the world. And the thing that stuck in my mind was the fact that I got a letter from him right afterwards saying, hey, it's all good, don't worry about it, we still believe in you, all that other stuff, and my dad really liked you. He liked you, and it was like, he was sold on Gibbons. And my dad didn't want me to go to Iowa, because he said, those guys are crazy over there. Roy Selger and all those guys. You don't need to go there. You know, somebody to watch you. No. You go to Iowa City, you're going to get put in jail. But, you know, but it was one of those things that, you know, I stopped getting recruited by Iowa, just like hung up the phone and quit recruiting me. It was that was really what motivated me. I tell you what. I mean, that ticked me off, you know, because I mean, I wanted to be able to kind of, you know, whatever, have my choice, and but it was the one thing. I tell you what, it was the one thing that really, when I went in, I just said to myself, I am never going to get beat by one of those guys. Never. I got beat a couple times, but honestly, you should apologize to Riley because you caused him to get a lot of beatings. But anyway, so you know, it was a weird deal. College got done. Jim decided you want to coach anymore. I'm sitting there, senior year, you know, just got done, didn't do what I wanted to do. You know, obviously you want to win a national championship and all that stuff, and didn't achieve it. So, you know, I was a little down in the dumps and a little despondent because, you know, basically everything was getting turned upside down. Didn't know where I was going to go, didn't know what I was going to do, you know. And it was just a weird deal. It was like one night I was out with my good friend Eric Aiken, who I spent a lot of time with, good man, and we're just hanging out, and you know, we're talking about, you know, what I'm going to do next year. I went and talked to Bobby Douglas, and you know, he said, yeah, we'll get you involved. We'll you know, we want to keep you around, all that stuff. I'll call you in a couple weeks. I'm like, all right, good. You know, well, 2 months passed. I don't hear nothing. So I'm getting a little panicked, all right? And so, so I'm talking to Aiken about it, and he goes, why don't you go to Iowa? And I'm like, oh, are you crazy? Why would I go to Iowa? I can't stand those guys, you know? He goes, but they're good, you know? You should go there and check it out. And I said, that's I don't know. You know, it's kind of weird because he's like, you should do it. And so I said, all right. I said, I'm going to call Branson. So a lot of guys, you guys, the thing about me, I live 60 miles from Tom and Terry. All right? I met him in 5th grade. Funny story. I'm up at the big tournaments up in North Dakota, and they're there. I didn't never talk to him. It was in 5th grade. Never talked to him before. I just see these little short guys running around all over, you know. And it was funny because we're in the pool, and there's this big dorky kid, and he keeps cutting in front of the line on the diving board. He's doing it the whole time. I could tell it was just annoying the brands. It's something fierce. And so I left, and I'm walking around the hotel, and I go to the elevator, click on the elevator door, and the elevator door opens, and here's the 2 Brands. And they got this big dorky kid in the corner, and they're just mowing down this guy, you know? And they look over and they're like, hey, Hamilton! And that was my first time I met those guys, you know? And it was like, they're I don't know, they're different cats. I love them to death, though. You gotta give them a chance, though. They're kind of, they're not,